I should have walked away. That's what I keep telling myself, even now. When I saw her standing there at the baggage claim, frustrated, jabbing at her phone screen like she wanted to break it in half, something pulled at me. Not lust. Not pity. Just pull. Like gravity, but meaner. You okay? I asked before my brain caught up. She looked up. Green eyes. Jaw clenched. Does it look like I'm okay? Not particularly, I said. And she laughed. Not a light laugh. The kind that breaks tension and makes you feel like an accomplice to something real. My ride bailed. I guess I'm taking a cab like a peasant. I shouldn't have offered. I've got a car. If you trust strangers who offer you rides, that is. She narrowed her eyes, then something flickered. Curiosity, maybe. Or recklessness. You're serious? I nodded. She hesitated, looked down at her phone again. Then screw it. Why not? We didn't exchange names. I didn't ask why she was in town. She didn't ask if I always picked up stranded women at the airport. There was a silence between us in the car that felt alive. Like it was saying everything we weren't. At her stop, she turned to me. Thank you. She tilted her head like maybe she didn't actually want to know my name. Don't mention it. She hesitated, one hand on the door. Want to grab a drink? That was the moment. That was the line in the sand. And I stepped over it. I said yes. We went to some dive bar she claimed had the best awful whiskey in town. We didn't talk about our lives, not really. We just swapped stories that felt true but not quite real. She told me about a childhood hamster that escaped and lived in the walls for a week. I told her about a blackout drunk night in college I still get nightmares about. No flirting. Not really. Just comfort. Dangerous comfort. 3 drinks in, she said, I'm in town for a funeral. Oh. That was all I managed. My ex-husband. Car crash. We hadn't talked in years. I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. I don't know why I told you that, she added, quieter. Because you needed to. Her eyes lingered on me like she was searching for something. Maybe guilt. Maybe warning. But I didn't give her either. When we parted ways that night, she gave me her number. If you want to talk sometime. Or if your hamster ever escapes. She smiled, then disappeared into the night. And I sat in my car, staring at the paper in my hand, knowing full well I should have walked away. I waited 3 days. Not because I was playing it cool. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'd look at her number, saved only as Hamster Girl, and hover my thumb over the screen like it had a trigger. Then I'd toss the phone on the couch like it burned. But the silence got to me. Not from her, just in general. The kind of silence that creeps in when your life's been on autopilot so long you don't realize you're just a passenger. So I called. Thought the hamster had eaten you, she said. Was thinking of letting him loose again. Missed the adventure. She laughed, but this time there was a drag to it. You want to grab that drink? I told her I'd pick her up at 7. We didn't go to a bar this time. She had a place in mind, a diner open late. The kind with yellow booths and waitresses who look like they've seen everything twice. We didn't talk much at first. Just sipped burnt coffee and watched people come and go. Finally, I asked, you okay? Why do you keep asking that? Because you keep pretending to be. She looked down at her mug. He was a bastard, you know? My ex. I didn't say anything. But not always. That's the messed up part. He used to bring me breakfast in bed. He'd sit on the floor beside me when I was sick. He held my hand like it was his last anchor on earth. Then he changed. No. I did. I didn't press. Didn't need to. We both knew some stories are too sharp to touch all at once. She finally looked up. You ever feel like you missed something important because you were too scared to ask for it? I nodded slowly. All the time. That night ended in her apartment. Not in her bed, on her couch. She handed me a blanket and sat across from me with her legs folded under her. I don't do this, she said. I don't bring people home. I don't become people who get brought home, I replied. That made her smile. Small. Sad. Real. We talked until dawn. Nothing profound. Favorite songs. Worst childhood injuries. She once cracked her collarbone falling out of a tree trying to rescue a neighbor's cat. I told her I broke my toe kicking a vending machine that ate my dollar. It was stupid. But it was ours. When I left, she didn't say goodbye. Just see you around. And I hated how much I wanted that to be true. The next few weeks blurred. We weren't a couple. We weren't anything, really. But she started appearing in my life like clockwork. A text here. A call late at night. Once, she dropped by with coffee just because I was in the neighborhood. We never talked about the boundaries we were crossing. We just crossed them. One night, while watching some old movie on her couch, her hand brushed mine. I froze. She didn't pull away. She just let her fingers rest there like a silent dare. You're scared, she said without looking at me. I didn't deny it. Me too. We kissed that night. Soft. Cautious. Like we were both afraid the other might disappear if we moved too fast. But the world didn't end. It just tilted. In the quiet after, I asked, why me? She didn't answer right away. Because you see me when I'm not looking, she finally said. I didn't know what that meant. Not exactly. But I felt it in my chest like a bruise. Weeks turned into months. I stopped seeing other people. So did she. We never called it love, never used words like together. But there was something binding us, something heavy and invisible. Until the night she disappeared. I called. No answer. Texted. Nothing. 2 days of silence. Then a voicemail, I'm sorry. I can't do this right now. I need time. No explanation. No warning. Just gone. I sat in my car for an hour listening to the message over and over like it held a code I hadn't cracked. Then I hit dial. This number is no longer in service. And that's when I realized I'd already fallen in love with a ghost. I didn't sleep much that week. I went to work, ate when I remembered, talked to people and smiled on cue. But inside everything felt hollowed out. Like someone had scooped me clean and left just enough behind to keep moving. I don't know what hurt more, her leaving or the fact that I didn't even know her last name. I retraced the steps. The diner. The airport. That first night in the car. I checked my call history, my text messages, hoping I missed something. Some clue. But she'd covered her tracks. Even her apartment was gone. I drove past the building, new name on the buzzer, different curtains in the window. Like she'd never existed. And maybe that's what scared me most. That I had imagined it all. Until 2 months later. She called from an unknown number. Just her voice saying my name like she hadn't disappeared into thin air. Don't hang up, she said. I didn't. My throat was tight. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Where are you? It came out raw. I'm back in town. Can we talk? I should have said no. I should have told her she'd lost that right. But I said where? She was waiting at the same diner, same booth. Like no time had passed. She looked tired. A little thinner. Still wore that same gray hoodie with the frayed sleeve I once teased her about. Her eyes flicked up when I slid into the booth. I didn't know how to do it, she said. So I just ran. Why? I kept my voice even. She stirred her coffee, eyes on the table. Because you made me feel like I still had pieces worth saving. And I panicked. That's a hell of a reason to vanish. I know. The silence stretched between us, brittle and sharp. I found out I was pregnant, she said finally. Everything in me stopped. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what I wanted. Hell, I didn't even know if I was capable of wanting something good. And now? She looked at me like she was afraid of what I might say. I lost it. A few weeks in. I didn't ask how. Didn't ask if it was on purpose. That wasn't what mattered. I wanted to call you every day, she continued. But I was ashamed. Not of the pregnancy. Of how much I needed you. I let that settle. I thought about the nights I'd stared at the ceiling, wondering what I'd done wrong. Turns out I hadn't done anything. You should have told me, I said quietly. I know. We sat in silence again. 2 broken clocks ticking out of sync. Then she said, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just needed you to know. I nodded slowly. Okay. But I didn't leave. Neither did she. The next few weeks were cautious. We didn't fall back into old rhythms. We hovered around each other like something fragile. No kisses. No late-night confessions. Just walks. Coffee. Talking. I learned her name was Elise. I learned her ex-husband had been abusive. That she hadn't been to her hometown in 6 years. That she once dreamed of being a marine biologist until life taught her how to lower her expectations. And she learned about me. About the brother I stopped talking to. About the time I almost got married and bailed a month before the wedding. About the way I never cried at funerals but always cried during dog movies. One night, we stood outside my building. She looked up at me. Do you still think about it? About what? That night? Us. I paused. Every damn day. She nodded like she expected that. Can I come up? She asked. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want her to, but because I knew if I said yes it would mean something. And I was afraid of what I'd do with meaning. But I stepped aside and let her in. We didn't sleep together that night. We lay on opposite sides of the bed, backs turned, fingers barely touching. And when I woke up, she was still there. That's when I realized. She might vanish again. But this time I'd be ready. Elise stayed the night. Then the next. And then it just became a rhythm. No big conversation. No formal decision. She left a toothbrush. A pair of socks. A book with her name scrawled on the inside cover in a rushed, tired hand. One day I opened the fridge and saw her favorite oat milk sitting there like it had always been. It felt like love. Not the breathless kind, this was the quiet, wounded version. The kind that moves slow because it's been burned before. Some days we talked for hours. Some days, not much at all. And on the hard nights when the weight pressed down on her chest and made her go silent, I held her without asking what was wrong. But there was always a line between us. Something unspoken. And the longer it went unspoken, the more it grew. Then one evening it cracked. We were at a friend's birthday dinner. One of mine. I introduced her simply as Elise, didn't label her anything. She didn't correct me, but her smile was tight all night. When people laughed, she didn't. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away without looking at me. On the drive home, the silence was different. Heavier. Defensive. You didn't want to say I was your girlfriend, she said flatly. It didn't feel like the place. It's never the place, she said, voice low. You always stop just short. I gripped the wheel. Because I'm still figuring this out. So am I. But I'm not hiding. We didn't talk the rest of the drive. When we got home, she grabbed her coat and walked back out. I didn't follow. I sat there on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen, telling myself not to panic. That she just needed air. That she'd come back. She didn't come back that night. Not the next either. Then 3 days later, she showed up again. Hair tied up. Eyes tired. Standing at my door like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to knock. I opened it before she could. I almost didn't come, she said. I almost didn't wait. She stepped in. Her voice shook. I need to ask you something. I nodded. Do you love me? I didn't blink. Yes. Her breath caught. Then why does it feel like you don't trust me? I looked at her. At everything we'd been through. At the pieces we were both holding in our hands. Because I'm scared, I said. Because the first time you left. You disappeared. You took everything I gave you and vanished. I came back. But it doesn't erase what happened. Her eyes filled. I know. But I'm here now. And I'm trying. I'm not perfect, but I'm not running. I stepped closer. Then stay. I will, she whispered. If you let me. I kissed her. Not softly. Not gently. But like someone tearing open old wounds to let them finally breathe. That night, we didn't sleep much. We talked. We cried. We got angry. We forgave. And for the first time, there was no line between us. We started over. No timelines. No pressure. Just days built brick by brick. I learned her triggers. She learned mine. I learned she hated silence during dinner. She learned I needed an extra 10 seconds in the morning to be human. We found a rhythm. Not perfect. Not even stable. But real. Then, 3 months later, her mother got sick. Terminal. Elise flew out the next morning. I don't know when I'll be back, she said. I'll be here, I told her. And I meant it. But time doesn't always reward patience. And distance doesn't always honor love. Weeks passed. Then months. At first, she called. Every night. Then every other. Then nothing. I told myself she was grieving. That she needed space. But something in my gut twisted tighter each day. Then the letter came. Handwritten. No return address. I'm sorry, it began. I'm sorry, the letter began. Her handwriting hadn't changed. Still that slight slant, the kind that looked like it was rushing to say something before it lost the nerve. I thought I could balance everything, grief, you, the life we were building. I wanted to believe I could carry it all. But I can't. Not the way you deserve. I sat at the kitchen table, the letter trembling in my hands. I read the rest even though my chest already knew how it ended. My mother passed 2 weeks ago. I held her hand. I said goodbye. And something inside me broke in a way I didn't expect. I kept thinking about you, about us, and I realized. I'm still the woman who disappears when things get too real. You gave me something I didn't think I'd find again. Peace. Safety. A place to land. But I never learned how to stay. I don't know how to be loved the way you love me. So I'm letting you go. Not because I want to. Because I have to. I hope one day you understand that this too is love. E. No phone call. No goodbye in person. Just ink on a page and a quiet absence that filled the whole room. I folded the letter once slowly, pressed it flat, then folded it again. I didn't cry. I thought I would. But I didn't. Instead, I made tea. I stood at the sink. I stared out the window until the sky went dark and I hadn't moved an inch. Maybe it was because I had seen it coming. Maybe it was because, deep down, I never really believed she would stay. But that night, I slept without dreaming. The days after were slow. Grief is strange when there's no funeral to attend. No official breakup. Just a slow unwinding of all the invisible threads you'd tied between your heart and someone else's. Her toothbrush stayed in the bathroom for 2 weeks before I threw it out. Her book sat on the nightstand until I returned it to a used bookstore, slipped between the shelves without a word. I deleted her number. I didn't block her. Just erased it. One night, I sat with a friend over drinks and told them everything. The whole thing. From the airport to the diner to the couch to the bed and back again. When I finished, my friend just looked at me and said, "Sounds like she loved you. She just didn't know how." And I nodded. Because yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. It took months before I went back to that diner. I sat in the same booth. Ordered the same coffee. It tasted the same, burnt and cheap and perfect in its own way. I didn't expect her to walk through the door. And she didn't. But I found something else. Me. Sitting there, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't broken. Just bruised. And bruises fade. That night, I went home and pulled out the letter again. Read it one last time. Then burned it on the balcony. I didn't cry then either. But I did exhale. Like I'd been holding my breath for a year. 1 week later, I got a postcard. No return address. Just a photo of a beach. And on the back, for words written in that same hurried handwriting. I remember. Always. E. That's when I knew. She wasn't coming back. Not in the way I'd once hoped. But somehow it didn't feel like the end. It felt like something else. A scar, maybe? The kind that aches when the weather changes but reminds you that healing happened. I didn't date anyone for a long time. Not out of loyalty. Not even out of heartbreak. Just exhaustion. It's strange how someone can take up space even when they're gone. Elise was everywhere and nowhere, like perfume on a shirt you haven't worn in months. Her name didn't come up in conversations anymore, but she still showed up in the silences. I focused on work. Started running again. Volunteered at a local shelter just to have somewhere to go after work that didn't feel like an empty apartment. Some nights, I'd find myself scanning phone numbers I didn't recognize, wondering if one might be her. It never was. But I kept the postcard. Not because I couldn't let go. Because it reminded me that something real had happened. That it had changed me. And I wanted to remember that part even if I never saw her again. Then, one morning, a year to the day since she left, I got a call from my friend Nora. Her voice was hesitant. "Hey, I ran into someone. Thought you should know." It was Elise. She'd moved back. Temporarily, she told Nora. Helping a friend settle a family estate. I thanked Nora and hung up. I didn't call Elise. Didn't chase her down. I just sat with the knowledge like a warm stone in my pocket, heavy but no longer sharp. 2 weeks later, I saw her. I was walking through the park with coffee, earbuds in, not thinking about anything. And there she was. Sitting on a bench with a book in her lap, eyes closed to the sun. She looked older. Calmer. Like someone who'd finally made peace with herself. She opened her eyes and saw me. And everything stilled. I thought she might run. I thought I might. But neither of us moved. I walked over slow. She closed her book. "Hey," she said. "Hey." Silence but not uncomfortable. "You look good," she added. "So do you." We stood like that, two ghosts sharing sunlight. Then she stood up, tucked the book under her arm. "Want to walk a bit?" she asked. I nodded. We didn't talk much. Just strolled. A few observations about the weather. A laugh when a kid ran by with ice cream all over his face. It wasn't until we sat on a bench near the pond that she finally said it. "I wasn't okay back then." "I know. I'm better now. Not fixed. But better. I'm glad." She looked down, twisting the corner of her sleeve like she used to. "I still think about you. About us." "Me too. I didn't reach out because I didn't want to cause more damage." I nodded slowly. "You didn't." She looked at me then, really looked. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said without hesitation. "You hurt me. But I don't hate you." A small, almost broken smile. "That means more than you know." We sat in silence for a while longer. Then she stood. "I'm flying out next week. Probably won't be back for a while." "Okay." She reached into her bag and pulled out a tiny envelope. Handed it to me. "You can read it or not. Your choice." Then she leaned in, kissed my cheek softly, and walked away. I sat there a long time before I opened it. Inside was a note. "You showed me what love could feel like when I didn't think I deserved it. You taught me stillness, and laughter, and safety. I broke us, and I carry that every day. But I also carry gratitude. For you. For who I became because I loved you. I hope you find someone who never leaves. But know this, you were never a mistake. It wasn't closure. But it was enough." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling again. Only this time, there were no ghosts in the room. Just the sound of my own breathing. Solid. Present. Alive. It's been 3 years since the airport. Funny how something so ordinary can become the pivot around which your whole life tilts. A missed ride. A question. A laugh you didn't expect to like so much. People talk about love like it's this singular, perfect event. One person. One story. One forever. But now I know it isn't always like that. Sometimes, love is brief and brutal and beautiful. Sometimes it's the wound and the salve. Sometimes it's the thing that wrecks you so you can finally rebuild. Elise never came back. Not really. She called once, a year after our park bench goodbye. Just to say hi. Just to hear my voice, she admitted. I told her I was seeing someone. She was happy for me. Genuinely. And that was the last time we spoke. I think that's how we loved each other best, in fragments. In moments. In the quiet aftermath. Once the dust had settled and we could see what we'd become. I met someone else a year after Elise's letter. Her name's Harper. She's steady in a way I didn't know I needed. She asks me questions and actually waits for the answers. She doesn't flinch when I mention Elise. Doesn't compete with the memory. One night early on I told her the whole story. All of it. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then, sounds like she changed your life. She did. And you loved her? I did. She nodded. Okay. That was it. No jealousy. No fear. Just understanding. That's when I knew I could fall in love again. I still walk by that diner sometimes. Not because I think I'll see her. I know I won't. But because I like remembering the version of me that sat there, holding a letter that split my heart in two. I like knowing he made it through. Healing wasn't clean. It wasn't a straight line. Some days I hated her. Some days I missed her so bad I couldn't breathe. But eventually the missing stopped feeling like bleeding. Now when I think of her I smile. I wonder if she's okay. If she found what she was looking for. If she ever thinks of me. And if she does. If somewhere out there Elise ever walks through a park or sips coffee in a booth and remembers the man who once called her hamster girl. I hope she smiles too. Because no matter how it ended, we were real. And real things don't disappear. They become part of you. Part of the way you laugh now. The way you choose people. The way you stay even when it's hard. Elise taught me how to hold on. Harper is teaching me how to let go of the fear. And me? I'm still learning. Still growing. Still showing up, day after day, with a heart that got broken wide open. And somehow, still beats louder than ever. That's what love does. I think. Not the fairy tale kind. The real kind. It breaks you. Then it builds something better. Something honest. Something that stays.